Oh, Lord, it's good to be here with you, Mr. O'Brien. On this fine New York spring day.
How are you now?
Oh,
Robin?
dear Faith, it's a great day.
I was wrong. I hope you can forgive me. I pray for your happiness. But I was swanning around.
The flowers are blooming and the nipples are out. Oh, Lord, yes. It's nice when there's just enough sun for the girls to put on the tank.
What do you want to do? You have my love and my blessing. I'm sorry this only came clear to me now that I'm dying, but it's how life rolls.
Build our strength and acclimating to the new normal. A large part of what we're doing through this grieving process is giving and spending time, focusing on the, others.
Out. The only people who don't look back with regret are idiots and psychopaths. And I got a lifetime of regrets, boy.
Robin Williams made the world laugh for 40 years, but behind every joke was a man screaming for help. At night, he locked himself in rooms to protect his wife from violent sleep attacks. During filming, he forgot lines he'd known for decades. He put his watches in socks and hid them at friends' houses, convinced someone was after him. His makeup artist held him while he sobbed after every scene. Everyone saw the symptoms, nobody saw the disease. What they found in his brain would change everything we thought we knew. Robin Williams was born on July 21, 1951, at St. Luke's Hospital in Chicago. On the surface, his life looked perfect. His father, Robert Williams, was a senior executive at Ford Motor Company, and his mother, Lori, had been a fashion model. They lived in a big house, had plenty of money, and all the comforts a child could ask for. But Robin's world was cold. His father was always traveling for work, and his mother, charming but distant, kept things formal, not warm. Hugs were rare. Love had to be earned. Robin quickly learned that if he wanted attention, he had to perform, be funny, be impressive. Just being himself wasn't enough. That lesson would follow him forever. At age 12, the family moved into a 40-room mansion in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. It was huge, fancy, and unbelievably lonely. With his father at work and his mother busy with social events, Robin was left alone for hours, sometimes days, with only the staff for company. But he didn't sit around sulking. He filled the silence with voices. He'd talk to imaginary friends, create characters, mimic relatives, invent entire worlds in front of the mirror. The house became his private theater. Every room was a stage, every echo a punchline. While most kids played outside, Robin was inside performing for ghosts. His comedy started there, in that silent mansion where no one told him what was funny or not. He figured it out on his own. But school was no escape. Robin was short, chubby, wore glasses, and didn't fit in. Bullies made his life miserable. They teased him, stole from him, even hit him. He'd come home with ripped clothes and bruised pride. Then something changed. He noticed that if he made them laugh, they backed off. They stopped hitting. So he leaned into it, a quick joke here, an impression there, and suddenly he had power. Laughter became his shield. It didn't just protect him, it gave him control. The more he made people laugh, the safer he felt. And the more he was praised for being funny, the more he relied on it, until it became the only version of himself he knew how to show. He'd bounce from character to character without warning, each one more outrageous and hilarious than the last. The audience never knew what was coming next, and that was the magic. Robin's mind moved faster than anyone else's. He could improvise entire routines on the spot, turn hecklers into punchlines, and shift between accents, impressions, and physical comedy in a blink. It wasn't just comedy, it was a tornado of creativity. Club owners called him unstoppable. Fellow comedians were in awe. Some even admitted they'd avoid following him on stage because no one could match his energy. Then came the break that changed everything. Mork and Mindy. Originally a guest role on Happy Days, Mork the alien was supposed to be a one-off gag. But Robin's performance was so bizarre and brilliant that it stole the episode. ABC executives saw the potential and greenlit a spin-off. Mork and Mindy debuted in 1978, and Robin became a household name almost overnight. His alien antics, weird voices, and wild physical comedy turned the show into a hit. Kids loved him. Adults were fascinated. Nanu Nanu and Shazbot became part of pop culture. But while the world saw a star rising, Robin felt the pressure building. Fame hit him like a freight train. Suddenly, he was recognized everywhere. He was doing interviews, commercials, movie offers were rolling in, and so were the temptations. Drugs, alcohol, and late-night parties became part of the lifestyle. Cocaine was everywhere in Hollywood in the late 70s and early 80s, and Robin fell into it hard. He later admitted he used drugs not to party, but to slow his mind down. His thoughts were so rapid, so relentless, that cocaine felt like a way to take control, even if just for a moment. But tragedy would shake him. In 1982, his close friend and fellow comedian John Belushi died of an overdose. Robin had been with him just hours before. The loss was a wake-up call. He quit cocaine, slowed down his lifestyle, and threw himself deeper into work and family. He married Valerie Velarde and became a father to son Zach. He wanted to be better, for them, for himself. At the same time, his career was evolving. He didn't want to be just the funny alien or the hypercomic. He wanted to act, to really act. And in 1987, he proved he could. Good Morning, Vietnam wasn't just a comedy. It was Robin Unleashed, blending improv with drama, showing the world that behind the jokes was a real actor. The film was a hit. So was Dead Poets Society in 1989. Carpe diem. Seize the day. That line, delivered with quiet passion, became iconic. Robin could make you laugh, but now, he could also make you feel. Bounce between voices so fast it was like watching 10 people trapped in one body. Audiences didn't just laugh, they leaned forward, completely locked in. Comics like George Carlin and Richard Pryor took notice. Pryor even became a mentor. Robin wasn't just good, he was a storm. People left his shows with their faces hurting from laughter. He could do in 10 minutes what others couldn't in an hour. By 1977, he moved to Los Angeles. He started performing regularly at the Comedy Store on Sunset Strip. That's where TV producers hunted for new talent, and that's where Gary Marshall found him. Marshall was already a hitmaker, producing shows like Happy Days. One night, he saw Robin perform and immediately knew this guy wasn't just funny, he was different, and cast him. The genesis of Robin Williams' meteoric rise began with what seemed like a desperate creative decision on Happy Days. In 1977, producer Gary Marshall's 8-year-old son Scott suggested adding a spaceman to the show after seeing Star Wars. The writers hated it. They even drew straws to decide who would write the stupid alien episode. But on February 28, 1978, that bizarre idea became My Favorite Orkin. It was supposed to be just a dream sequence for Richie Cunningham. Then Robin Williams walked into audition. When asked to sit, he did it upside down. Marshall said he was the only alien who auditioned. That one moment changed TV history. Viewers went crazy. The response was so overwhelming that ABC re-edited the episode to remove the dream part and make Mork real. Just one appearance led to a full spin-off. No one saw it coming. But Mork and Mindy launched later that year, and it exploded. When Mork and Mindy premiered on September 14, 1978, it became a national obsession. In the first season alone, it pulled in 60 million viewers every single week. It was the third most watched show in America, right next to Happy Days. Robin Williams became a superstar overnight. At just $15,000 an episode, he was a bargain, especially for someone who was basically a one-man hurricane of comedy. His face landed on the cover of Time in March 1979. Kids were wearing Mork t-shirts, lunchboxes, coloring books, toys. Mork was everywhere. But behind the laughs, the writers were in survival mode. People believed Robin just made up his lines on the spot. That myth made the writers furious. One of them joked, "We're up till 4 in the morning writing Robin's ad-libs." They worked like mad, 10 o'clock in the morning till 4 at night, just to keep up with him. Some turned to cocaine, others like David Mish lived on sugar. Robin didn't wing it. He memorized the whole script after one read. Sure, he went wild during rehearsals, but when the cameras rolled, he hit every line perfectly. His chaos was precise. Hollywood couldn't ignore him. In 1980, Williams got his first big movie role, Popeye. It had a $20 million budget and was filmed in Malta, where they built an entire village that still exists as a tourist site. The movie earned nearly $50 million, but critics hated it. Williams called the set Stalag Altman, mocking how difficult the shoot was. Still, it proved he could carry a film, even when the script or direction failed him. He had star power. Popeye wasn't a hit, but it opened doors to the roles that defined his career: Good Will Hunting, Mrs. Doubtfire, Dead Poets Society. But while his career exploded, something darker was eating away at him. During the Mork and Mindy years, Williams was consuming a gram of cocaine every couple of days. Even when he confessed it to a doctor in 1991, the doctor brushed it off, because drug use was just that normalized in Hollywood. But friends saw the damage. Comedian Mike Binder remembered a moment in the early 80s when Robin saw a gram in his pocket. He asked for a hit, disappeared into the bathroom, and came back with the vial completely empty. It took him minutes. Others remembered him begging before shows. "Got any blow? I can't go on without it." But unlike most users, cocaine didn't hype him up, it calmed him. "Most people get hyper on coke," he said. "It slowed me down." For him, cocaine was a hiding place. Then came the shock that changed everything. On March 5, 1982, John Belushi died of a speedball overdose. Robin had been with him the night before, hanging out at the Chateau Marmont. Belushi seemed tired, playing guitar while high on Quaaludes. Robin went home and told his wife he was with this lady. She was tough, scary. That lady, Kathy Smith, would inject Belushi with the cocktail that killed him. Robin found out the next day on the set of Mork and Mindy. He was stunned. "What? I was with him last night," he kept repeating. Belushi's death rocked Hollywood. For Robin, it was terrifying. "Look at you, you little frail," he told himself. "You're small change." That could have been him. That would have been him if he didn't stop. Then came the final push, fatherhood. In April 1983, Robin's son Zachary was born. 6 months earlier, Williams quit cocaine and alcohol cold turkey. No rehab, no therapy, no Betty Ford. Just pure willpower. A friend said. He just quit. He later explained. The Belushi tragedy was frightening, and for me, there was the baby coming. I knew I couldn't be a father and live that sort of life. By then, Mork and Mindy had ended. His friend was dead. He was about to become a dad. Everything pointed to a crossroads. Most people collapsed. Williams chose recovery, and he stayed sober for 20 years. From 1983 to 2003, he never touched cocaine or alcohol. Instead, he poured all that addictive energy into his work. He became one of the most beloved actors in the world. Films like Dead Poets Society, Aladdin, Good Will Hunting, Patch Adams, Mrs. Doubtfire, they weren't just movies, they were lifelines for people. He was a workaholic, but it kept him clean. He found another outlet too, cycling. He told people, "Cycling saved my life." Instead of hiding in drugs, he rode his bike for peace of mind. But that kind of intensity came with pressure. The public expected Robin to be on all the time. He once said in an interview, "You're only allowed to be sad in private." That kind of life catches up with anyone. In 1987, the world finally saw what he was truly capable of. That year, he played a military radio DJ in Good Morning Vietnam. It wasn't just jokes and noise. He made you laugh hard and then hit you with the pain of war like a punch to the gut. His improvised radio rants were mostly unscripted. The director just let him go. The result? A film that made $123.9 million worldwide on just a $13 million budget. And for the first time in his career, he got an Oscar nomination. 2 years later, he took it even deeper in Dead Poets Society. He became Mr. Keating, an English teacher who didn't just teach poetry, he made it matter. Standing on desks, whispering Carpe Diem, quoting Whitman and Thoreau, this wasn't stand-up Robin. This was something else. He spent weeks learning how real teachers work, memorized over 200 lines of poetry. The film made $235.9 million and gave him his second Oscar nomination. But more than that, it turned him into a symbol, for teachers, for dreamers, for anyone who ever wanted to break free. Then came 1992. He wasn't even on screen, but his voice shook the whole world as the genie in Aladdin. He recorded 30 hours of manic brilliance, impressions, improvisations, energy no animator could predict. The film made over $541 million and changed animation forever. After that, studios wanted stars, not just voices. But behind the scenes, Williams was furious. He'd agreed to do the role for just $75,000, way below his usual fee, on one condition: no heavy merchandising. Disney broke that promise. The genie became one of their biggest moneymakers, pulling in over $1 billion by 1995. And Williams never forgot it. In 1993, he put on a dress, wig, and thick British accent, and Mrs. Doubtfire exploded at the box office, $441.5 million worldwide, the second biggest movie of the year. Williams sat in a makeup chair for 4.5 hours a day to become Euphigenia Doubtfire. He didn't just act, he transformed. He studied old women in malls, took voice lessons, and improvised take after take. One dinner scene took 15 tries because he kept coming up with new lines on the spot. It wasn't just funny, it was love, loss, parenting, and pain wrapped in latex and laughs. But nothing hit harder than Good Will Hunting in 1997. He played a therapist named Sean Maguire, a quiet, grieving man helping a genius who was lost. No voices. No fireworks. Just stillness. That, it's not your fault. Scene, it was improvised. And it broke the audience just like it broke Matt Damon on set. This time, Williams didn't just get nominated. He won. Finally, an Oscar. March 23, 1998, he stepped on stage and said, "Thank you, Ben and Matt. I still want to see some ID." Then walked off. He was at the top of his game. But fame hides things, dark things. In 2003, filming in a remote part of Alaska, he cracked. Isolated. Cold. Afraid. That's how he described it. It wasn't the edge of the world, he said, but you could see it from there. He walked into a store, saw a bottle of Jack Daniels, and his lower power whispered, "Just a taste." That single sip destroyed 20 years of sobriety. He'd been clean since 1982. Now it was gone. What followed was 3 years of hidden drinking. He kept working, kept performing, but inside, he was spiraling. He later said he knew it was bad within. The first week. "I was buying so many bottles I sounded like a wind chime walking down the street," he joked. "But it wasn't funny." "Not really," he said. "Those 3 years were not fun at all." He just couldn't stop. In 2006, his family finally intervened. It wasn't gentle, it was an ultimatum. His son Zach later said, "If he'd kept drinking, I don't think he'd be alive today." Williams checked into Hazelden, a top rehab facility in Oregon, spent 2 months there, faced the truth, then made a new commitment to show up for AA meetings every week. He admitted his first recovery in the 80s was incomplete. "The one thing I hadn't dealt with was, how honest do you want to live?" he said. But even as he fought for sobriety, the bills were crushing him. 2 divorces, massive settlements. Some reports said he lost between $20 to $30 million. His first wife, Valerie Velarde, got $50,000 a month for life. In 1989 alone, she received over $500,000. His second divorce was even worse. Marcia Garces left him in 2008, just 2 years after his rehab stint. She cited the stress of his addiction. Williams tried to laugh through the pain. Alimony, he once said, comes from the Latin word meaning to rip a man's genitals out through his wallet. Eventually, the money ran out. In 2012, he listed his 653-acre Napa Valley estate, Villa Sorriso, for $35 million. It had everything: library, theater, art gallery, wine cellar, but it had to go. "I just can't afford it anymore," he told Parade magazine. He'd earned over $130 million in his career, and yet he was downsizing to survive. He was still one of the funniest people alive, but in March 2009, Robin Williams nearly died. At 57, while on his Weapons of Self-Destruction comedy tour, he felt short of breath. It wasn't just exhaustion. Doctors found his heart was failing. He had to undergo open-heart surgery, real life-threatening stuff. The surgeons didn't just replace his aortic valve, they also repaired his mitral valve and tried to fix his irregular heartbeat. This meant stopping his heart, using anesthesia, and even chilling his body to protect his brain. It was that serious. His brother had died 2 years earlier from similar surgery. That fear stayed with him. The operation worked, but it left scars that no one could see. These kinds of surgeries often lead to depression, or even PTSD. Some patients experience memory loss or cognitive changes because of the trauma, the anesthesia, or tiny clots in the brain. Williams survived, but he was never the same. 4 years later, he tried to restart his TV career with a sitcom called The Crazy Ones. It had a strong launch in 2013. He starred alongside Sarah Michelle Gellar, and the ads were everywhere. But the magic didn't last. Ratings fell, and by May 2014, the show was cancelled after just 22 episodes. That hit Williams hard. He felt like he failed. "My face is all over town on billboards, and it's all on my back," he told a friend. Behind the scenes, he was falling apart. Financial pressure added to the weight. After 2 divorces and the show's cancellation, he had to sell his $29.9 million Napa ranch. He was heartbroken, humiliated, and unsure if there were any roles left for him. His confidence was fading fast. Then, on the set of Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb, things got worse. Robin started forgetting his lines. That never happened before. He used to improvise entire scenes. Now he was doubting every take. He would call the director late at night asking, "Do I suck? What's going on?" One of his makeup artists said he ended most days sobbing in her arms. None of it made sense. Yet no one had a name for what was happening, but his brain was already under attack, every part of it. His wife Susan would later find out he had Lewy body dementia. At the time, no one could explain why Robin, the fastest mind in comedy, was now struggling to speak or think clearly. At home, things were even darker. He couldn't sleep. He suffered from violent night terrors. He would shout, flail, or act out nightmares, so much so that he started sleeping in a different room to protect his wife. Sometimes he locked himself in his stepson's room just so he wouldn't hurt anyone by accident. This was more than insomnia. He had REM sleep behavior disorder, one of the clearest signs of Lewy body dementia. The bad nights ruined his days. His mind became a maze. He suffered panic attacks and terrifying waves of paranoia. He once put his expensive watches in a sock and drove them to a friend's house for safety. He believed people were in danger. He thought his friends were being followed. Sometimes these paranoid spirals lasted 48 hours. He couldn't escape them. And worst of all, he knew something was wrong. In May 2014, doctors told him he had Parkinson's disease. But that didn't explain everything. He wasn't just trembling, he was hallucinating, panicking, forgetting simple things. He kept asking his doctors, "Am I schizophrenic? Do I have Alzheimer's?" They said no, but he knew they were missing something. He felt it. His wife said it was like playing whack-a-mole. Every time they managed one symptom, another one popped up. Levodopa, the main drug for Parkinson's, barely helped. In some cases, it even made his hallucinations worse. That should have been a clue. People with Lewy body dementia don't respond well to Parkinson's meds. Robin got worse instead of better, more panic, more confusion, more fear. Susan watched the man she loved disappear. Some days he was clear, other days frozen and terrified. At night, he screamed in his sleep. During the day, he would sometimes stand motionless, trapped in his own mind. He kept asking if he was losing it. And tragically, he was right. He showed over 40 symptoms of Lewy body dementia, but no one connected the dots in time. He had hallucinations, memory lapses, confusion, delusions. All of it came in waves. One moment he was okay, the next lost. His case was so extreme, doctors later said it was one of the worst they had ever seen. Nearly every part of his brain was damaged by Lewy bodies, clumps of abnormal proteins that wrecked the nervous system. Robin Williams wasn't just sad or tired, he was fighting a brain disease that nobody understood. A disease that stole his memory, his confidence, and eventually, his will to live. On August 11, 2014, he was found dead in his home in Tiburon, California. He had hanged himself with a belt. There were superficial cuts on his wrist and a pocket knife nearby. His personal assistant found him. He was 63. When Robin Williams died in 2014, the world lost one of its brightest lights. But behind the jokes, the charm, and the quick wit, something far darker had been eating away at him. His final year was a puzzle: confusion, paranoia, hallucinations, anxiety, insomnia, and sudden problems with movement. No one could figure it out, not even the top specialists he visited. They called it Parkinson's at first. But they were wrong. Then came the autopsy. What they found shocked even the most seasoned experts. Robin's brain was completely taken over by Lewy bodies, clumps of a toxic protein called alpha-synuclein. These weren't just in one area. They were everywhere: his neocortex, his limbic system, his brain stem, even his amygdala, the part that controls emotion and memory. It was like a wildfire had swept through his brain, leaving almost no healthy neurons untouched. Dr. Bruce Miller, a top neurologist at UCSF, reviewed the findings. His reaction was blunt: no area of his brain was left untouched. And he wasn't exaggerating. Brain regions that usually escape damage in neurodegenerative diseases were completely overwhelmed in Robin's case. The damage was so severe, Dr. Miller later said he was amazed that Robin could still walk or even speak in his final days. This level of destruction is incredibly rare. Doctors said it was one of the most extreme cases of Lewy body dementia ever recorded, and it explained everything: the hallucinations, the mood swings, the paranoia, the sudden physical decline. He wasn't just sick. His brain was being systematically dismantled from the inside out. What made it worse was how the disease hit all the wrong places. The amygdala, which helps regulate emotion, was full of Lewy bodies that caused crippling anxiety and terrifying hallucinations. His brain stem, essential for movement and basic functions, was also invaded. That meant his body couldn't produce enough dopamine, the chemical that controls movement. It's the same chemical that drops in Parkinson's. That's why he started shaking and became rigid. But it wasn't just dopamine. Another chemical, acetylcholine, needed for memory and focus, was also depleted because the Lewy bodies reached his basal forebrain and cortex. With both chemicals out of balance, Robin was stuck in a mental storm, hallucinating one moment, unable to move the next, losing memory, losing control, losing himself. The full picture was horrifying. Robin Williams didn't just have dementia, he had a version of it that seemed almost engineered to destroy every part of what made him who he was. According to his widow, Susan Schneider Williams, 4 different doctors confirmed it: this was one of the worst cases they had ever seen. The damage was too far gone. Nothing, no drug, no surgery, no therapy, could have stopped what was happening to